Hello there, it is I, Shepherd Chong, bringing to you another episode of Abyssalcraft is Kind of Awesome. And in this episode, we are going over the Crystallizer, what it's used for, how the Transmutator fits into it, and I'm also going to throw in that one potion that we have from this dimension, just so it doesn't take up its own video. Yep, okay, let's get started. Now, the crystals. What are the crystals? Basically, you know the periodic table? I hope you do. It's kind of important to reality. But basically, the crystals are elements. Some of the elements from the periodic table in Minecraft, pretty much. It's not nearly as complicated as the Minechem mod, just so you know. But yeah, you can use the crystallized elements to get other types of materials. You turn various materials into the crystals, and you can turn the crystals into other materials. Now, there are, what is it, 26 or 27 types of crystals? Give me a sec. Okay, there are 25 different varieties of crystals, and a total of 50 crystal stuff. Okay, so what I mean by that is there are two types of crystals for each of the elements. There are the crystallized shards and the full crystals. There are 25 possible elements, so two for each. Yeah, so let's get into some mechanics real quick. Let's look at the crystallizer real fast. Now, in the crafting episode, I mentioned this here, recipes. This is from the NEI mod. That's not enough items. Having the NEI mod as well as Abyssalcraft will let you see the recipes for these machines. Now, this is the fuel section. I will note that the fuel here is basically any type of fuel. It's not specifically for the machines. So, while it shows that you can use all this stuff, and it says there are 213 pages for this, which means there are roughly 426 possible items you can use for fuel. No, that's just generalized fuel. This, however, is specifically recipes for the Crystallizer, and recipes specifically for the Transmutator. Now, let's go back to this real quick. You see that there are 68 pages. So that means there are, 136 recipes? Yeah, it's nice, right? Now, I will also note that once you've got the Dreadlands Necronomicon, go to Forbidden Knowledge, Machines, Crystallizer, it shows you the recipes. Yep. Okay, and also, this applies to the Abyssal Wasteland Necronomicon. The Transmutator page also has recipes for that. So, the stuff back here is just a handful of useful recipes for you. Again, there are a lot of recipes. Can't really go over all of them. So this setup here is for the Crystallizer. This is what you put into the Crystallizer, and this is the output for the Crystallizer. This is just sort of separation. If you put in a bucket of water, you get crystallized hydrogen shard and crystallized oxygen shards. Now, the way item frames work, you can't really indicate just how many shards you get. Some of these recipes will give you more than one of a shard. Let's see if I can check this real quick, just to show you that. Where's water bucket? That's Corallian. There it is. See, the water bucket will give you 12 hydrogen shards and 6 oxygen shards. Yeah, there aren't too many recipes that only give you a single shard. And there are only a handful? Are there any recipes that actually give you the full-sized crystals? The shards get The shards are similar to vanilla nuggets, in that you craft 9 of them in a crafting grid to get the full-sized crystal. Yes, there are some recipes that give you the full crystals. Okay, just want to make sure. And back to some useful ones. Remember that crystallized carbon shard from the crafting recipe where you craft a whole bunch of them together with a bunch of other stuff and you end up with diamonds? So you can get them by using coal or charcoal. I don't know. I also mentioned how this item here, Dreaded Abyssalcraft ore, is different from this, Dreadlands Abyssalcraft ore. And how Dreadium ingots are a bit difficult to get. So, here's how you get them. The Dreadlands Abyssalcraft ore creates crystallized abyssalcraft. The Dreaded Abyssalcraft ore creates crystallized abyssalcraft and crystallized dreadium. The crystallized dreadium is one of the ways to get dreadium ingots. You can also smelt up the dreaded shards of abyssalcraft, which I've mentioned before. But since that's mob drops, and maybe you prefer mining or playing on peaceful or something, this would be the other way to obtain them. Again, take 9 crystallized dreadium, craft it in a crafting table, and get the full-size dreadium shard. And then you transmute the full-size dreadium crystal into a dreadium ingot. It took me a second there. But yeah, that's the other way to get dreadium ingots. So, continuing. So I mentioned recipes that give you the full-size crystals. Most of them involve full-size blocks. A full-size block of abyssalcraft will give you... Is it 1 or more? Good question. Again, it's hard to tell with the way I've had this set up. Yeah, sorry about that. But I've got limitations and whatnot. Where is this? There it was. Ah, okay. It gives you 4. 4 crystallized abyssalcraft. Now, for my explanation with the dreadium crystals, you'll notice that crystallizing a block of abyssalcraft and then transmuting those crystals back into abyssalcraft ingots, that'll actually give you less abyssalcraft than it took to create the block. So yeah, diminishing returns with that, just so you're aware. Now, those are a handful of stuff. You can transmute, crystallize lapis into silica, full-size crystal silica, and sulfur shards. Now, most of the crystals have uses. Some of them are only used to create other crystals. Some of them are a little bit less useful. Where is it? Crystallized blaze. You get that from crystallizing blaze rods from the blaze mobs. They don't do anything. Yeah, you can transmute them back into blaze powder or blaze rods. I don't remember which. One of the two. But yeah, that's all it does. Same with, where is it? Crystallized redstone. You make it from redstone, you turn it into redstone. That's all it does. Yeah, so maybe some of them haven't been fully implemented. I don't know. But, you know, whatever. Okay, so, gunpowder. You get nitrite and sulfur shards, growling plague flesh, phosphorus shards, and corallium shards. You can use the crystallized corallium to get corallium ingots, the refined corallium ingots, I mean. Which, honestly, there isn't really a whole lot of difference. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, this item here, Dreaded Chunk of Abyssalcraft. This is a mob drop. I think that's the next episode where I'm going to be covering that. But it will also give you dreadium shards. Same with this, Dreaded Shoggoth flesh. There are special Shoggoths in this dimension, just like all the dimensions. You crystallize some of their drops, it gives you phosphorus and dreadium. Oh. So if you take Abyssal Shoggoth flesh, you get phosphorus and corallium. So yeah, handful of useful recipes. Now these recipes here, these are recipes for the Transmutator. Again, just a handful of useful ones. Just because I've never really got into the mechanics of the Transmutator too well. Again, it has 60 recipes? Yeah, about 60 recipes. And most of them are pretty cool. And some of them are necessary. I think I mentioned it in the crafting episode, but you cannot get to the next dimension without a transmutator. I don't think the crystallizers are technically necessary for progression with the mod, but don't quote me on that. I'm not quite sure. But the transmutator is absolutely necessary. So here are just a handful of recipes. And here is why. The Dread Plague Gateway Key. This is how you're going to get to the next dimension. I haven't talked about how you get this, but you can probably guess it has to do with the boss. Yeah, when you kill the boss, you get this item. In order to make it work, you have to transmutate it into this Chagoros Relayan Gateway Key. Yeah. So, keep that in mind. So, another useful thing, you can transmute gravel into flint. If you just got lots of gravel and you don't want to spend lots of time trying to get the darn flint for whatever reason. Like arrows, maybe. Now, because this is slightly simpler to describe with signs, okay, I had to check myself real quick. I made this thing a while ago, forgot what it's supposed to mean. Okay, so one stack in this case means for every piece of gravel, it transmutes into 2 flint. So, yeah, if you put in 64 gravel, you'll get 128 flint. Not quite sure why I put it like this. Probably could have described that a bit more easily. Whatever. Again, anyway, dense carbon cluster, which I went over in the recipes episode, you can transmute into diamond. Now, you can transmute diamond into 64 coal. So if you, for some reason, have a surplus of diamonds and wants lots of coal, 1 diamond makes a stack of coal. If you ever want it for some reason. So, what is this? This is a liquid corallium. Now, why does it look like this? Well, do I have it in here? No, I don't. Okay, so let's go into NEI for a moment. Where is it? No? Do I not have that as an option? Okay, well, I can demonstrate with Thaumcraft. So, in normal Minecraft, you pick up liquids using buckets, and you get buckets of whatever. Buckets of water, buckets of liquid corallium. For some of those buckets, again, this isn't, don't think it's really been implemented for a bunch of other mods. If you put, say, a bucket of water into here, you will get this special creative item called cold water. How to describe this? Well, here, I've got something in my inventory. I'll just show you what it looks like. It's just sort of a flat plane. And if I go back and put it down, it's basically a bucket of liquid. Yeah. This is something that's normally not even in the creative inventory. This is something you have to use commands to get normally. But what the transmutator can do is you put in, say, a bucket of lava, and it gives you still lava, which is what it's sort of called. And if you then put that into the transmutator again, in the case of the still lava, you would get the block of solid lava, which I did show off in the Abyssal Wasteland one. Yeah. In this case, if you put in the still liquid corallium, you will get 8 corallium stone. Neat. You know, if you don't have liquid antimatter, which again is annoying to get. Anyway, so another useful one. You can transmute wool into 4 string. Neat. Now, here are a couple of crafting recipes that I didn't cover in the crafting episode simply because they are reliant on crystals. So, there is a special item in this mod called Methane. Now, what's it used for? It is a fuel. I can't remember if it's as good as coal or if it's better than coal. I want to say it's better than coal. You can use it in normal furnaces. I believe you can use it for both the Crystallizer and the Transmutator's fuel. And you use the crystals to get it. Okay, so what does it require? Well, you transmute a fully sized crystal of crystallized methane into a methane, which of course you make from 9 crystallized methane shards. So how do you get the methane shards? Well, you can either crystallize some methane, which is rather circular, or you can craft them. You use 1 carbon shard and 4 hydrogen shards, which makes 1 methane shard. So, yeah, methane is just an alternative type of fuel, which is neat. So, now that I've covered a bunch of stuff with the Crystallizer and the Transmutator, I'm gonna go into that potion. So, I sort of mentioned this in the original potions episode. There is a final type of potion, and that is the Potion of the Dread Plague. If you remember, the Dread Plague is a special status effect added by Abyssalcraft. It's sort of like Poison and Wither, which are also very similar to each other, in that it is a damage over time effect, and it works pretty quickly. And it also has the effect that if it's used on something affected by the Dread Plague, has a chance of, when it dies, to turn into a Dread Spawn, which is a type of mob added by Abyssalcraft. So how do you make them? Well, you put a Dread Fragment into a brewing stand using Awkward Potions or Potions of the Corallian Plague, and you get Potions of Dread Plague. Now, so demonstrate that real quick. Now, of course, you can also make it stronger using glowstone dust. And of course, you can also turn it into splash potions using gunpowder. Now, I think this has had enough time. Yep. And Potions of Dread Plague. Now, let me go into creative real quick. And now that I've gotten this stuff out, let me just check real quick. Just to make sure, I believe I had it on peaceful. Sheep. Get hit. Okay, now it's affected by the Dread Plague. It's taking damage. And nope, didn't spawn one. Oh, since it's a splash potion, they are both affected. And there we go, Dread Spawn. Aren't you an ugly little thing? Okay, so yeah, that was a Potion of the Dread Plague. Simple enough. And I think I'm going to wrap this episode up here. I am Shepherd Chong. This was an episode of Abyssalcraft is Kind of Awesome about the Crystallizer and stuff. Bye.